I think it will be exciting for audiences to get to see that this is not just the story of a young Coriolanus Snow and the origins of how a young man grows to be the President Snow who we all loved to hate, but the origins of the Capitol as well, and of seeing, we've heard reference in the original movies to the war, to the dark days, but we have only ever really seen the Capitol as this place that, seen through Katniss's eyes, seen through the eyes of a person who's grown up in very different circumstances. We've never told a story before that takes place through the eyes of a young Capitol citizen, and especially somebody like Snow, who comes from great wealth and power, but whose family has fallen into hard times that he's trying desperately to conceal from his peers. But to see, both in our very early images in the film, to get a sense of what the way that the war devastated the Capitol and its citizens, and what the destroyed version of the Capitol, not this sort of shiny product that it becomes, but in the midst of those dark days, what the Capitol had become. But to also then see, as you meet Snow at age 18 as a senior, at the academy, the beginnings of the Panem that you recognize, right down to the reconstruction of the old, but these new buildings that are going up, the cranes, the skyscrapers, the attempt for a city that has been devastated by war to rebuild, reimagine, and move on. And so architecturally, you're seeing things you haven't ever seen. And then when you get to the games, you're really seeing another origin story, that the games were not always filled with this incredible, sort of sci-fi effects of these arenas that are so elaborate, that it was once a much simpler affair. And the advent and the reasons why the games evolved the way that they did, and the role that Snow played in it. So I think there's a lot for people to see across the spectrum of Panem, through character, through the games, and through Snow, that I think people will find exciting, I hope. When we first meet Snow as a young man, we see that, he is a man very intent on keeping up appearances. He's ambitious, he's driven, but his hope is just to return his family to their former glory, to find a way to pay the bills. Nobody knows that when his father was killed during the war, that he doesn't seem to have done any really good financial planning, and that now the family is barely getting by. And it's really important to know that none of his peers know that. He is doing everything he can, with the help of Tigris, to sell the idea that they are still the all-powerful Snow family, that Snow does, of course, land on top. And he's a young man being pulled in competing directions. The warmth and optimism of someone like Tigris, finding out actually what their relationship was. We know by the time that the Mockingjay movies and the books that Tigris is ready to help take Snow down and to end his reign. But what we don't know up until this movie is that they were once like brother and sister. She's his cousin. She's his, looks after him and sees the good in him. And he has his friendship with Sejanus, who also, I think they might have mixed feelings about each other, but they can at least somewhat be themselves with each other in a way that Snow can't be with his wealthier peers. And then you have the, very powerful mentoring force of Dr. Gall, Viola Davis's character, who sees in Snow his potential, his Machiavellian propensities, his trickiness, his charm, the chameleon in him, and hopes to bring out in him the kind of man that his father was, versus somebody like Highbottom, played by Peter Dinklage, who knows just how dark his father was and has every intention of stopping Snow from becoming like him. Well, one of the most exciting things in reading this book was to suddenly look with new eyes on the original books and movies and to understand that very, dramatic scene that takes place in Catching Fire in the first act, where Snow comes to visit Katniss and to tell her, like, look what you've started. You need to knock it off. You need to calm things down. That this is not his first time in 12. This is not the first time he's dealt with a defiant and unruly young woman in 12. This is actually harkens back to a really pivotal, painful, and transformational moment in his past. And it really does shed new light on his relationship with Katniss and how it feels to him to find himself back in 12. And also his knowledge of just how disruptive those girls from 12 can be. I think it's also his relationship to Mockingjays, to see that this symbol that Katniss becomes so associated with, and that becomes a symbol of rebellion, that he has his own history with the Mockingjays, and he's not a big fan, never was, and never will be. Well, a producer honestly could not ask for a better partner than Francis Lawrence. He is he's a really rare combination of he has vision and he has confidence, and with that comes this incredible receptivity. And sometimes you will find in a creative partner that they can be either confident or receptive. But true confidence is about actually really wanting and drawing out the best from all of your collaborators, all of your department heads, your actors. And Francis's sets, they're incredibly familial, they're inclusive. We all hang out a lot outside of the set. And you see with each department head the way, he really brings the best from everybody, and everybody feels like, Francis wants you to bring him your best ideas, to take chances, to take risks, and that he can find ways to incorporate, the talents and the ideas and creativity of the people around him, while still holding on to this vision and to the sort of certainty with which he is able to tell a story. He is a great fit for Suzanne and for these books because, like her, he draws so heavily from theme and character. He's also an incredibly self-disciplined director. He treats our crew and cast with such respect, not just in the day-to-day and the minute-to-minute, but in the hours that we keep, and making sure to keep people healthy and sane through the whole process, and to bring joy and closeness to it. But it's also great to have a partner who is as sort of obsessed with detail as I am, as obsessed with the ideas and with keeping Suzanne's ideas, her characters, her world building, to bring everything that we get from these books, to keep it alive, and to also make the choices that you have to make when you make an adaptation, and what has to stay and what has to go. So you can't really ask for a better partner. It's been an incredibly joyful partnership, and one that, when Suzanne told us she had a new book for us to read, of course, I was thrilled to read anything that she wrote, thrilled to come back to Panem, but also thrilled to be reunited with Francis.